welcome back to the channel. Today I will be doing another art time lapse that's inspired by Studio Ghibli. Today's art time lapse is going to be named Hello Friend. So I just started back at work after being on maternity leave for a good almost 2 years and a half now. So it's been a little bit rough. So I'm trying to make light of the whole return and get myself familiar with how things are like and how the family routine's gonna be coming forth. So this is a homage to something familiar and something lighthearted to make myself feel more at ease. Lately I find that I've been doing more artwork for helping my own mental health and helping me stay positive and just giving it myself a little bit of creativity and time for myself. So I've been doing a lot of art inspired by Studio Ghibli because it's something familiar and feels easy for me. And sometimes with all of the art that you see on social media, personally for me, I feel very anxious for the need to produce more, to create more content and something that's original and interesting for the viewer, but at the same time I also want to do things that make myself happy, and this is one of the make myself happy but not necessarily the most original piece ever, given that I am using characters from a Japanese anime movie. Anyways, that's the background behind this piece, trying to find something familiar. So I decided to do this piece that is inspired by Studio Ghibli's My Neighbor Totoro, and I want it to be inspired by May and also the little Catbus. So the idea is that they find themselves in a forest and they go, "Hello friend, it's been a while since we saw each other. How have you been?" And just checking in. It's nice to have someone check in and see how things are going, and you may not always have that someone coming by to say hi to you, but it's if you're I guess you've probably heard the phrase, if you can't find the sunshine, be the sunshine. So if there's nobody else checking on you lately and you feel a little left out, maybe start by checking in with that someone else or a friend who may really need it at this time. So going back to work right now, it's a little bit tough, but I know I like my work, so I just have to get back into my routine of it. My work does create a lot of room for creativity, and my coworkers are just fantastic, and I can't say more about any reason why I wouldn't want to go back, with the exception of possibly the commute, which is a little bit stressful given COVID. But with that said, it's like going back and saying, "Hello friend, how are you doing?" I am now back at work and things have changed a little bit, but a lot of change has been for the good as well. For this piece, I decided to do a green, emerald green kind of blank wash in the background, and then slowly add on layers of gouache paint that is different colors of turquoise and whites to create dimension for the piece. It does take a while because after I add a layer of plant, I do have to wait for it to dry and before adding the next layer on, but also makes it really therapeutic in that I have to learn to be patient and enjoy the process as I add on each leaf brushstroke by brushstroke. When I'm doing this as an art time lapse, it looks very easy and it just kind of spawns itself onto the piece of paper so quickly. But when I slow things down, as you can see, each brushstroke just take as much time as you would possibly imagine it would have. I actually really enjoy doing these small brushstrokes of plants, and yeah, this piece was a lot of fun for me. But I was really struggling to make it unique instead of just another pretty piece with plants on it. So I decided to first add on all the layer of plants to create density and also complexity to the piece by creating many different colors of green and also many different layer plants. And then later on I will work on the lighting, which I know that lighting plays a really big piece in terms of making a piece unique on its own. Now, before I work on the lighting, I'm gonna start doing the coloring for the characters. That is the main, I guess, headliner for the piece. So there's the baby Catbus, which I actually didn't know about the baby Catbus until I went to the Studio Ghibli Museum in Japan back in the day before COVID occurred. And I was just so inspired by that piece, that movie that they showed at the theater. I decided to do a small one of the baby Catbus for this piece. And May is just such a innocent and like wholesome character. I thought she would be perfect one to find this little friend. So here I'm trying to have the idea of the light shining from the left hand corner down onto the hat, so you can see there's more of a darker shadow and tone on the back. Easy enough for me. The window is also on the same side, so it gives me an idea of where the light should hit. One of my favorite parts of painting is adding on the highlights and using white to add on those highlights. It does take a little bit of time, but I think it's well worth it. So far, you can see the colors are quite warm, with some cool undertones for the forest background. If you like this type of content, please consider like, subscribe, and sharing. It really does help with the channel. Thank you so much for considering. So here I'm adding more white for May's sleeve as well. Normally I would squeeze the acrylic wash paint, which is the type of paint I use, onto a small dish to paint on top of the piece, but here I'm dabbing right on the lid because I actually don't have much paint left in this tube, so it was the easiest way for me to get access to it. I do not recommend just dabbing right into the tube because you will contaminate that tube and also will add water to that existing tube, which can affect its texture and lightness, and over time you will notice a little bit of grittiness in your paint, which is not what you want. You can see that I still haven't finished the forest completely, and it's something I am still working on. However, it does get really boring after, let's say, your second or third hour of drawing plants. So it's nice to have a little change and work on these tiny characters, which, to be honest, is probably one of my favorite parts of this particular drawing. So back at it again with the plants. I just got a new paintbrush from my local art store, and it's my local art store that I pick up my paintbrushes is Opus, and they have these Galliano brushes that I really like and make such a big difference when doing those fine points, including these leaves here. Again, this is not a sponsored video, but I figured if you're interested, that's what I use. As for the paper that I use, is an art block by Leung, and it is the 9 by 12 inch art block. It is a hot press paper, so the paper is very smooth, which is usually the type of paper that I enjoy. The reason being that I usually use multimedia, including some oil pencil colors on top of my gouache once it dries, and I am able to add more details to the artwork if I was to use hot press paper, because if cold press was to be used. There's a lot of texture associated with it, and it's hard to draw in some of those gritty areas where the grain of the paper is showing. So here I have light shining through my studio window, and it's creating this really cool effect onto the piece. And this is my aha moment of what if I create a light source for this piece, and maybe that will create that special aha moment for the piece as well. So going back, you can see that there is no light source, and now I'm adding in the light source starting with the yellow, with the light rays shining from the left hand corner from the top. After adding in the yellow, I got a little bit more white and also some bright green to add on to wherever the light source hits. I'm actually really liking the idea of this light shining through and peeking through the leaves and creating all of these different colors. And voila, this is my final piece. Hello friend, welcome back, that kind of thing, or just checking in. So I hope you enjoy this art time lapse of Hello Friend, inspired by Studio Ghibli's My Neighbor Totoro, with baby Catbus and May. Well, that's it for now. I hope to see you in my next art time lapse. Take care, friends.